at you. Good Monday, everybody. Welcome to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, show number 11 of 2019, and a lot of stuff taking place. History going to be made this week. We've been talking about it for a while. The BPT taking place at Lake Toho today, the final day of practice, and they get after it tomorrow, and hopefully, I've talked to him numerous times. Hopefully, we will have Mike McClelland on here in about 10, 15 minutes live from Lake Toho. And, dude, it looks like the weather is not cooperating, at least during practice.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to get a good break for the actual tournament. I was looking ahead at the schedule. I have the app on my phone, and anywhere where there's a tournament going on or anywhere where I'm going to be fishing, I just add that city. You just hit the little plus and add it. So it looks like they're getting a lot of rain for these 2 days, but for the time for the midway and the drive-through and the carnival and the set and all
the food trucks. They made a big deal about the food trucks.
Was it Gator Tails?
Yeah. Dude, I have no idea.
So heck, we're the same boat as we're the same boat as the 80 guys that'll be going across the stage over the next 2 days coming up. We don't know what to expect.
Do they actually go across the stage?
I think they're going to pull up and then talk about it in their boat and truck. I think that's part of the whole deal, and then they're out of there. So.
All right. As we mentioned last week, we're going to have Dave Rush, guy that's been with us for a long time. He is going to be live on location at the very first event. We will have him on the show tomorrow, live via Skype, and he'll give us his take on what's going down on day one. But in the meantime, we still had a derby over the weekend in Florida, and the man from Ohio just pretty much blew away the field.
Yeah, Whitney Stevens, the first day, hey, we are 3 for 3. The first day was canceled due to inclement weather that went through the area. But Whitney Stevens had like 30-something and then backed it up. He averaged almost 30 pounds a day, 57.8. I think he eclipsed like last year's Open for 3 days, just in 2 days. But found a little...
Obviously, he found the wad.
He found a wad and some grass, and he absolutely worked on him. But, interesting. I saw some familiar names up there at the top. You see, we'll just start... John Cox in 11th, Alvin Shaw, there's a name from the past, Trevor Fitzgerald, good down there, Buddy Gross, Brandon Lester off to a great start this year, Brian Schmidt. The guy comes in with like 22 a day, and he still loses by 12
Did you look at the
pounds.
bottom of the leaderboard?
I'm not like you, Mark. I'm actually I'm a glass half full guy. I know you don't look at the very top until after you've dissected, but it wasn't an easy tournament. There's some, Kyle Fox, former Elite Series guy down there. So
Jason
Rick
Williamson.
Morris. So anyway, speaking of Jason Williamson, we'll get this out of the way. I say this because this is the most recent Bassmaster magazine, and I gotta give it up to our viewer Sean Avery is the one who turned me on to this, so I can't take credit for this. And maybe we're reading too much into this, Mark.
Maybe it's because we know.
I kind of tease this. This is obviously Keith Combs is on the cover, the February 2019. If you go to page 22 and 23, Jason Williamson brought it up because there's a picture of him right there holding a lovely smallmouth, and it's called The Land of Giants Winter Whopperland. Read that.
That is a mouthful.
Do you have your cheaters on?
I do.
Okay, read the bottom part. Now, this is in the latest Bassmaster magazine, in the blue box down there underneath the word Land of Giants.
Who penned this?
I think it was David Brown.
Okay, it was David Brown. All right, it says...
Just read it.
It says, anyone can catch a bunch of dinks, but who wants to... Wait a minute. But who wants more little fish? It's the big ones that will make your heart race. Here's how true professionals target monster bass during this month.
Good way to work your way through that. Now, what do you notice on there? Now, I know you are not the end-all be-all as far as punctuation goes, but there's 3 letters there that are capitalized that should not be.
3 letters.
Mm-hmm.
More little fish.
The M is capitalized. The little is capitalized. And the F is capitalized.
Oh my gosh.
That's in Bassmaster, folks. You can get your copy right now and look at it and read that.
But who wants more little fish? Wow. What?
Big props to Sean for pointing that out to me. I totally missed that. That is 100% Sean on that one.
Anyone can catch a bunch of dinks, but who wants more little fish?
Shot across the bow mark?
Obviously. Don't you say so? I mean, why would you put that in there if it wasn't?
I'm just saying. There's your Monday controversy right there.
Wow. How many people do you think picked up on that?
Oh, Sean Avery did. And then I saw it and I was like, yeah.
It's the big ones that will make your heart race.
You know, just reading it's kind of a shot, and then you see that they capitalize it.
I didn't even
MLF.
think about it.
Yeah.
Until I read it.
Yeah.
Do you think David Brown came up with that?
I don't know. I don't know who we're. I mean, it made it through all the edits if he did.
All right, so you're telling me you did not pick up on this until it was pointed out to you.
Correct. And neither did
Wow.
you. That's been sitting in there for a couple weeks.
I know. Wow. More little fish. Interesting.
And then the other thing that I found interesting was I log on to the MLF website on my phone, and you know they have a scrolling banner of all their advertisements.
Yeah.
Well, there's a Skeeter Yamaha deal on there with the Bass logo. It says official sponsor Bass.
I saw
MLF.
that. Yeah.
We got some cross stuff going on all here.
I think it's going to be that way. I mean, they're basically getting many mulligans on a lot of things.
And then did it not also not kind of it was weird. They came out with the list for the groups, right?
Yeah.
So if you've been living under a rock, they came out with the groups. Who's going to be fishing tomorrow, the 40, then who's going to be fishing the next day. They alternate for 4 days to determine who the top 40 guys are that'll make the semifinal round and then go on to fish the final on Lake Toho. Or the final's not on Lake Toho. But they had like their Forest Wood Cups and Anglers of the Year and Bassmaster Classics right next to them.
Yeah, but some guys got left out, like David Walker. Mm-hmm. He was FLW. Remember, he was on the Wheaties box.
Yeah.
That got left out.
I just thought it was odd to
mulligans,
highlight
dude.
their previous tours' accomplishments.
Here's what I'm going to say about that. All right. It doesn't matter if it's fishing, basketball, it could be a dog show, it could be the first time that you go to a restaurant. You only get one time to do what, Matthew?
Make a first impression.
That's right. You get one shot. And I think it's very interesting how they are positioning, saying, hey, this is our first one. By 2020, we'll have it dialed in. I mean, I've asked that question on this show to numerous guests. So is that first impression really that important for this thing to get going and from a fan's perspective? I'll tell you what, right now, this is just my opinion. Dude, you and I both know how difficult it is to do live streaming on the water. I mean, Bass has done a tremendous job. FLW done a tremendous job, but they have encountered numerous difficult situations.
I'd say 70% of the tournaments, there's someone that needs to be on that is sticking at inopportune times, is freezing, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. So if this thing does not work really, really good, you saw what happened this weekend with Bass during the Open and the leaderboard and the final day weigh-in and all that. They had some issues.
Whitney Stevens broke the leaderboard. That's the reason why it didn't work, Mark.
But I'm telling you, the fans were frustrated. And if they have issues, and let's keep our fingers crossed that they don't.
Did you see how many trucks are in town, though?
Dude,
Did you see
it's
Littner's
like the
Instagram
WWE
post?
is rolling into town.
It was unbelievable. It was just a row after row after row. And then you saw the command center that they put out.
It's impressive.
I think they've done everything they can to make sure this stuff works.
It's very impressive. But what I'm saying is what is going to be the reception of the fans if all those 18-wheelers don't produce the product.
Or what is going to be the reception if they do produce the product? It is a crystal clear high def image, all 10 guys, and
they're going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. So there is a lot riding on this line, with the premise having already been set of, well, you know what, guys, this is our first one. We're going to get better. Just wait till 2020. Dude, if they hit it out of the park on the very first one, yeah.
And they're going to Chickamauga. They announced at Chickamauga. I don't think I think that came out over the weekend, didn't it?
Yeah.
So that's the 4th stop. Also,
like on Friday.
Previous, about like less than a month before the FLW Tour goes there.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to throw something out real quick, and then we'll take a break and hopefully return with Mike McClelland. Have you paid any attention? And I'm going to do this basketball bass fishing comparison because somebody on the instant feedback actually brought up a good point, and we're talking about Michael Jordan. Do you know what's been going on with James Harden in Houston?
Yeah, he's been
lighting it up.
He's been scoring 44 points a game. He's the second highest monthly total since Wilt Chamberlain averaged more in March.
It's crazy.
I'm trying to impress you with some basketball
I am
knowledge here.
thoroughly impressed. All right.
They just got Chris Paul back. It's still Harden still put up.
Well, he scored
points.
61 a couple of games ago. Had 0 assists.
Right. Well, and also, was it like some astronomical amount, no assists? He's been doing it, meaning.
Yeah.
So to get an assist in basketball, you just go up the court and shoot it, right?
Well, no, that means somebody has to pass you the ball.
Which means no one's passing him the ball.
He's just doing it all on his own.
He's just going down the court.
Yeah, it's all isolation, all that stuff. Anyway. Do the NBA fans, and it was interesting because I got into a conversation with multiple people last night. Oh, by the way, the Thunder game last night, very impressive. Really cool.
You were at that.
Yeah, really cool. Had a suite. It was badass. It was really cool. Anyway, I got to talk to a number of people in the little lounge that they had there. We were talking about, do you like to see that type of scoring with James Harden, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you know what? I'm really kind of getting tired of teams shooting 50, 60 three-pointers a game. That's not what basketball is about. He said, look what Milwaukee's doing. And last night, Milwaukee, they just went to a 5-out set. And everybody was just jacking up threes or trying to get to the rack. It's not the way basketball was played. So I asked him this question, and I'm going to get back to the bass thing. I asked him this question, one of the guys that I was talking to. I said, it's the way that the game is changing. And sometimes change is very difficult to absorb, not only as a player, but also as a fan.
Mm-hmm.
So the dynamic of the way that the fan really embraces the NBA brand of basketball is dramatically changed from where it was 15, even 10 years ago.
Wasn't there a point where dunking was illegal and there was no three-point line?
That was a long time ago. That was in college basketball. It wasn't like that.
But there was no
NBA.
shot clock?
No, there's always been a shot. Well, there was no shot.
Just take college
stuff.
This is a point that I'm making. There was no dunking, there was no three-point line, and there was no shot clock, right?
Yeah,
so
but that didn't last long.
I know, but when all those things were there, I guarantee you there were people that were going, Duncan's going to ruin the game. Yeah. This is not what the three-point line, that's going to ruin. Now it's completely accepted. So maybe that's the era we're going through with the MLF.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. That is the point I'm trying to make, because even though the game is changing, they're even talking about putting a 4-point line in, which I think is totally ridiculous. But anyway, it's the situation of change. And you've read it, I've seen it, I've heard people talk about it. The frustration of, well, this is not, you got to weigh 5. You got to weigh 5. You can't do this and weigh 100. I'm not going to go out and fish in an event over the weekend where you got to weigh 100. Well, that may be the change that is getting ready to take place.
It was 7. It was 10. Yeah. It was 15.
So, dude, they are going to make history this week, and I am more than intrigued on what the feedback is going to be from the people. Now, we mentioned on Tuesday we're going to have Dave Rush live from Toho. On Wednesday, for the first time in the history of this show, we're going to have an entire show dedicated to people calling in, voicing their thoughts on really anything, but I'd really like to get people's thoughts on what they feel about what has taken place at Lake Toho in Florida this week. So Wednesday show, a special show.
Might take some cojones there, Mark, without a screener.
Nah, it's all right, man. I'm good. I'm game with it. We have really, really good viewers, really good listeners.
Oh, okay.
So everybody that's out there watching live, and then those people that are watching the replay or listening to us on iTunes, hey, Wednesday is your shot. Phone number is out there. We will open up the phone lines immediately. Matt and I will sum up in the morning, Wednesday morning, kind of what's taking place throughout the week, and then we will get right to the viewers' opinions live, uncut, uncensored, and we'll see where that goes on Wednesday. All right, what else, Matthew? Did you catch him this weekend?
No, I only went for like three hours.
No 10 killer?
No,
dude, it was beautiful.
I was going to fish 10 killer, but when I got my boat ready in the morning, it was like 20 degrees. And everything was frozen.
What?
It was cold. And so I spent that day getting everything ready. And then yesterday I went out for a morning adventure. I haven't really caught them good on the jigging spoon yet this year.
Yeah.
And I like doing that.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things. You actually kind of taught me how to do that out there at Texoma.
Yeah.
And now I love it. So I went out to a little lake, Okmulgee, and I caught 2, but I only did it for 3 hours. But I had them all over it. It was fun watching it. I don't know what they were. They were probably drum or something. So.
All right. Wow. Very, very exciting week for us. Very exciting week for 80 guys down in Florida. And, hey, they launched the new website talking about Major League Fishing. And do they have any of the streaming links out there yet?
I looked. I've seen it.
I looked late
morning.
last night. I'm assuming the streaming schedule.
Is there a pregame show tonight?
I have no idea. I don't know. I looked late last night after I got home from the basketball game, but I don't know.
This is our last chance to do it. Do we want to make a prediction on this? We have to go through. We haven't done this for the season yet. They're all about to start, and we have not gone through and picked 2. So do you want to do this first one on who wins this one, and then we can go through the rest of the season on tomorrow's show?
I think that's what we need to do. We get a mulligan on this first one.
Right, but we have to pick it now.
So just randomly pick somebody.
Well, but you know who's in there. It's the 80 guys.
Yeah.
We just got to get our pick out on the air beforehand.
I'm going with Hackney.
Okay.
All right. I'll just go with Greg Hackney.
I think I'm going with Kevin for all 8.
All right. But see, there's so much strategy involved in doing picks because it's not the same format. It's not.
Okay, do you want to wait till tomorrow to do the pick? Because tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the morning, we still won't know what's going on.
Yeah.
That'll give you today to kind of look at some of
We
the
could do some research. I think that would be better.
Okay, we'll do tomorrow then.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
All right, man. What else? Super Bowl coming up this week. When is the final day weigh-in? It's Sunday, right? Or the final day, whatever they're calling it, match or
stage.
No, I don't even know what to call it. What do you call
it? The final day of stage 1.
All right. What time is the Super Bowl? It's a late evening, afternoon kind of deal, isn't it?
Yep.
So that should all be done. Are you a fan of the Super Bowl hype?
No, I'll watch it.
Oh, God, man. Who's the halftime show this year? Do you know?
No clue.
Any ideas?
No.
I'm not into the whole pop music scene.
No.
No ideas. No guess. No nothing.
I
Drake?
have no idea.
Drake, maybe?
I don't know. It'll be someone. Be something weird.
Kind of controversial. You know, that whole halftime deal. Anyway. All right, what else, man? I got to get this queued up so we can take a break and hopefully come back with Mike.
No, I mean, we're 2 tournaments into Florida. We're about to start the MLF. It'll be very interesting to see how I'm interested in this one, Mark, is how it's affected because all these guys, it's all fine, the rules, the penalties, the lake change, the zeroing of the weights. It all sounds good in concept until you're in it.
Yeah.
And then you realize that you had more weight than a dude who qualified the previous day, but you're sitting at home or you're dialed in on Toho and then they change the lake to the final day, or you lead the semifinal and then the weights are zeroed for the final. It'll be interesting. It's one of those things I think that in the concept, it looks awesome until you're that guy who's 21st or you're that guy who's 25 pounds ahead of everyone and doesn't end up winning.
I'm with you, man.
If they're in it, and they're committed to it, and they're all, what was the phrase, pulling the rope in the same direction,
Yeah.
then it'll work.
All right. All right, taking a break. Hopefully coming back with my McClelland. Everybody stay tuned.
Sleek new design with easy control file. The clearest images underwater with uncompromising range. Live mapping from the touchscreen. View notifications, video, even Google Maps on screen. And for the first time ever, real-time view of fish movements with live sight sonar. HDS Live. New from Lowrance.
It's about the hours spent getting everything just right. It's the attention to detail. Good just isn't good enough. It's the years spent on the water day after day. When you tie on a bait by Strike King, you're standing on the shoulders of legends.
Pros depend on hydraulic jack plates to get the best out of their boats. Do what they do. Demand Atlas performance. Atlas gets you from the bottom to the top in less than 8 seconds, even with the big 4 strokes. And when you gotta turn right around and get that heavy load back up in rough water, Atlas's innovative design and American-made components will get you there with confidence.
I'm at Depot. Just look for yourself. There's an Atlas jack plate on just about every professional's boat.
The Atlas hydraulic jack plate. You can depend on it.
Hey guys, Aaron Martins here. I'm going to be telling you about a new product by Sunline. It's Siglon PE x8. I've been using it almost extensively all year for my frogging, flipping, drop shotting, shaky heading, worming, jerk baiting. It's by far my favorite Sunline braid. I honestly, I don't say this unless I think it's true, but honestly it's the best braid in the market of any of the braids. Definitely check it out. It's a price point line, $14.95 for 165 yards, and that could last you a whole year, just one spool with using leader material. It's Siglon PE x8. It's my favorite braid, and I think if you use it, it'll be your favorite braid too. AFCO has a new foul weather rain suit called the Hydronaut. A lot of the features that I really like about it first is the speed vent hood. If it's raining out, you know how a person gets wet is when you run down the lake and the hood comes down. With the speed vent hood, it's going to stay up. It has a camera mount in the pocket on the chest. The Hydronaut has a 2-layer, 100% waterproof nylon shell. If you're interested in a rain suit that has a lot of cool features that's going to keep you dry, you need to check out the Hydronaut from AFCO.
All right, we are back on a Monday. Mark and Matt in studio.
They have the link.
They do have the link.
Site. They got all sorts of stuff up there. They got 4 photo galleries already. They got the pros' reaction. They got videos from the meeting. They are rocking and rolling.
All right,
the
very
guys
cool.
are a day and 2 hours into their practice.
Very nice. All right, we have Mike on the phone, and I'm going to cue him up now. Mike, you there, man?
I'm here, man. I'm almost wishing I was sitting there in the studio with you guys based on the weather.
Not very pleasant in Florida, is it?
You know, I know how this goes. Every time we show up in the state of Florida, it seems like things are going to turn to the worst. We had a little comical joke going on this morning at the ramp. We have all been Maloned once again, if you know what I'm getting at.
That's pretty funny. In reference to Mike Malone, the man that puts the schedules together.
And he was standing there at the ramp taking it like a man.
Wow. All right, let's talk fishing. Dude, what's it been like during practice, and what are you guys facing in the conditions?
I'm going to tell you straight up. I mean, I came down a few days early. I was tired of the cold weather there in the Midwest. And when I first arrived I guess it would have been Monday down here, I went fishing on some area lakes. And the water temperature was, 60 to 62 or 3 degrees. I am sitting here looking at water temperature now of 54 degrees. It plummeted last night. Even yesterday, it was still hovering up in the high 50s, lower 60s. And we had a really cold night. It rained. I don't know how much last night, and everybody knows fishing in Florida isn't just the greatest when the conditions get like this.
Mike, does it make a difference that you're in Group A and you're going to be trying to catch as many of these things as possible tomorrow instead of having an additional day after that front hits like the guys in Group B will?
There's 2 ways of looking at that. I mean, one, I've always felt like, what few fish have been active and stay active generally do so when you still have some wind. If it turns off bright bluebird slick on day 2, like they're talking that it might, it could be a little tougher on day 2 of the event than it is on day 1. I'm not going to say my practice yesterday was horrible. I actually had more bites yesterday with the conditions being like they were than I expected to get. Today's a different story. I think I've had 3 bites all morning and really tough conditions. We've got north winds right now, and tomorrow the winds are actually supposed to switch out of the southwest, and we're supposed to see a lot of sunshine. And I'm hoping the fish that are active or have been active, that'll get them a little bit excited tomorrow, and today or tomorrow will go pretty well.
You've been through hundreds of pre-tournament meetings over your career, Mike, with a number of different organizations. Is it fair to say that the pre-tournament meeting for the first stage here was the most interesting that you've been a part of in your many years of doing this? The thing that is so cool about it is this thing is angler driven. I mean, Major League Fishing, Bass Pro Tour is angler driven. I mean, in a normal meeting at a normal tournament event, the anglers would have had no say-so in anything. I mean, I'm not saying there were any major dramatic changes made, but there were a few things that anglers had on their mind that, we discussed as a group. We voted on a couple things in a meeting. I mean, have you ever seen that go down at any other organization's meeting? So it was pretty cool to see that we could actually work through things and discuss things, and if there was something that needed to be ironed out, we could do it right then and there. Can you tell us any of the stuff you voted on, or is that a closed door?
I guess one thing that isn't no secret kind of a deal, there was a decision made early on when we wrote up the angler agreement that we weren't going to allow anglers to wear denim. And, in today's age, there's a lot of acceptable denim. And there were a lot of anglers upset they couldn't wear denim. So that was one of the things that we did vote on in the meeting, and it was overturned. So anglers get to wear denim now. And, Gerald, James Watson, the guys that like to sport their blinged up jeans can still do so.
Wow. That's a game changer right there. Blinged out denim now allowed. You heard it here first.
Now I'm just telling you the things that I feel good about.
Is that going to be a press release?
No, come on, dude. No,
I kind of doubt it.
All right, this is kind of funny, Mike. I actually want to get back to the fishing this time rather than Matt and his denim jean questions. Anyway, what are the phase? What phase are the fish in right now? Before this cold weather hit, I mean, do you think that there was a lot of spawning taking place? What are you guys facing?
You know, this is the way you have to look at Florida. I mean, generally, once the weather starts cooling off in the winter, you're going to have fish that actively start spawning throughout the course of the winter. I mean, I know they start spawning down here as early as, October, November. So, yeah, there have been fish that have spawned. Typically down here, when you get one of these major cold fronts like we're seeing right now, and then it warms back up, that's generally what really triggers a lot of spawning activity. So we're on the front end of that cold front. And, this isn't going to be an event that, I would love to know in my mind at the end of this event how many bass might have been caught actually sight fishing for them, because I just don't think it's going to go down. I mean, the water temperature's plummeted. I mean, what few fish might have been spawning on the moon last week, I think have lost complete interest based on the massive cold front that we're seeing. I mean, we've seen water temperatures drop now, like I said, since I got here to the state last Monday, 8 to 10 degrees almost. So,
wow.
I just don't look I don't look for it to be a sight fishing event this week. The fish, I found them to be pretty active yesterday. I mean, they just seemed like that they were in a good mood to eat yesterday, and it was kind of interesting. I've really struggled down here on cloudy, rainy days, and yesterday was one of those days that I got around them, and they wanted to bite a little bit. So I would love to have yesterday tomorrow. I know that.
How would you describe your practice process, Mike, with this MLF format compared to what you've competed in on the other trails?
The big thing about this MLF format, and simply the fact that it is every fish counts. I mean, the fact that we can go out and we can utilize every angler's strengths and talents to fish the way you want to fish. It's not all about catching the 5 biggest, anymore. So in my mind, there's been a lot of times that all of us as anglers have had to pull off a school of 2-3 pounders to go look for a big bite. And the beauty of this, not to say that there's going to be massive schools of 2 and 3 pounders found down here, but the beauty of this is if you get on a pattern, if you get on one of your strengths, you can continue pushing it knowing that every one of them you catch is going to go to your score tracker. And that's the beauty of the whole format. I mean, the thing about it is I think you're going to see guys do a lot more just looking, not so much fishing, but just trying to get a breakdown, especially down here in Florida, of what you've got in areas. Guys are looking for padded areas. They're looking for Kissimmee grass. They're looking for offshore hydrilla. And, I think when it comes down to the fishing part, that's when you're going to see things start lighting up. That score tracker is going to light up, and, guys are going to be making decisions based on that more so than the way we've done it in the past.
Past 6 months have been crazy. There's no denying that fact. Everyone we've interviewed since October has said, man, I cannot wait till I can just get my boat on the water, not worry about any of this stuff, and go fishing. You got to do that for the first time yesterday. What was it like as you idled out of the marina and knew that for the next 10, 12 hours, you were focused on one thing, and that was finding fish?
It was an awesome thing. I mean, being a board member on the PBT, I've been very involved in a lot of the planning, a lot of the things that have gone on for the past, 4, 5, 6 months. So to actually go out and know that I wasn't going to answer my phone, I actually turned it down to the point I don't know that I would have heard it ring. So it felt pretty awesome to completely forget about all of the business side of Major League Fishing and focus on fishing. And I think that's what a lot of guys were ready for. There's so many questions, so many different things about where Major League Fishing is going that everybody was full of questions. But when it come down to it yesterday and everybody hit the water, I mean, you could tell that everybody was in game mode again. Everybody was ready to focus on what we all do most of the year and make it happen.
All right, I have one question, Mike, and I don't know if you're going to be able to answer it, but Brian from Norman on the Instant Feedback has the same question that I had. with 40 guys on the water at one time, do you have any idea how often Score Tracker is going to be updated?
The whole thing about Score Tracker, and I don't remember if I've had this discussion with you guys, but I mean, the thing that Score Tracker and Major League Fishing has opened my eyes to is fish feed in, phases of the moon, phases of fronts, whatever it may be that kick things off. I mean, when they're biting, Score Tracker is going to be going off with 40 guys on the water. I'm going to say it could be going off 2 or 3 times a minute. I mean, in reality, when they're biting. Now, when you get into those lull periods, that's what's crazy is it isn't like, 15 or 20 guys keep catching them based on what I've seen in the standard cup events. I mean, it's like when they shut off, they shut off. So there's going to be periods of Score Tracker update that just absolutely blow your mind. But then you're going to go through those lulls where you may go 30, 45 minutes and nobody catches one. So that's the crazy thing about Score Tracker. It's made me really realize that when they're not biting a lot of times, they're just not biting lake-wide. It's unbelievable, even as spread out on some of the bodies of waters we've been. I can really, in my mind, go back to 3 or 4 events where we went over an hour with nobody catching a bass. So, it's definitely a moon phase deal, a front thing, and I don't know that it's one of those situations I try to use Score Tracker to my advantage. I mean, if they're catching them, I want to know they're catching them. And I think, guys can look at it 2 different ways. Some guys want to plug their ears and not listen to it. But I know if Score Tracker's lighting up and I'm not getting bit, I better be moving.
I think one of the things we're both interested in is how often is your referee going to be updating the Score Tracker? Like every time someone catches it, is he going to have to say Score Tracker update? Or
no,
is it...
that is 100% the angler's objective on how often. Now, I shouldn't say that how often. If you want the official to tell you every time he sees the Score Tracker, you can ask for that.
Okay.
But as an MLF angler, there's going to be certain periods of time, and I would be lying right now if I told you. In regular cup events, it's always been like every 15 minutes they were mandated to give us a Score Tracker update, and there is a timeline set in these as well. I just don't know if it's the same 15 minutes that we've always
So you can't go all day and not know, but it's not like every single time. Based on the TV shows that we watch, it sounds like every single time someone catches one. I'm just envisioning Biffle 2.5 hours into his day not having a bite and heard 800 Score Tracker updates and taking that iPad and skipping it across a Thule pad like a freaking rock.
And that is the beauty of it. You as an angler have to know. So, I mean, it is going to put some pressure on guys that don't want to hear it, that don't like to know what's going on. But the advantage to it, like I said, I mean, if you're not catching them and that Score Tracker is lit up, you better be moving around. I don't know how many events I've fished in Florida or, a number of different places where I absolutely thought fishing was horrible. And, you get to the weigh-in and they've caught them. They've crushed them. So to be able to know that guys are catching them tomorrow, in my opinion, is going to be an advantage to a lot of anglers. It may work against some that get spun out and start running around crazy. And I'm not going to throw any names out there, but it's gonna really get to some guys.
All right, that's a great point. All right, Mike, one more question, then we're going to let you go. What is your confidence like, and how do you feel that you're going to perform this week?
The whole thing about it, I mean, this is a format that I have been performing in, for 6 or 7 years now. My comfort level and confidence is high right now. I mean, I've struggled a little bit with the format just to the fact that I'm always a little bit slow to start, but, I think I continue to learn from watching the past episodes of the Cups. I feel like I've made some great adjustments the last event or two and, just come up a fish or two shy of advancing to the next cut. But at this point, my confidence is high. I feel like I do have a little bit of an advantage, competing in this format for a while, and I'm just excited and ready to get this Bass Pro Tour stuff going.
All right, cool stuff, man. We can't thank you enough for taking time out while you're on the water. Very, very cool that you're able to give us a little bit of insight on what's taking place down there. You guys are making history this week, and wishing nothing but the best, Mike.
tomorrow is going to be unbelievable. Everybody needs to tune into MLF now, and it's going to be crazy, I think, when live streaming starts tomorrow, what really goes down.
All right, man. Best of luck to you, Mike. Take care, dude.
Always good. See y'all.
All right, see you. There you have it, Mike McClelland. And
we need to have all our interviews from the marshes of Toho. That was the best. That was the best reception we've had in 2019, Mark.
I know. So I don't know, man. The world wants to know. The world is waiting.
I thought that was interesting. That answered the question there, though. It's every specific
you're right.
time period, but
that was what my question was.
Yeah,
but.
Like I said, I was talking to Dave about it. If they're constantly going score tracker, you're not going to be able to hear anything. It's just going to constantly be.
Yeah.
You know what I think they need? They need a little box on the boat, and it doesn't say anything. They don't have to do a score tracker update, but every time someone catches one, it just dings.
Oh, dude, that would drive. Think about you being in the boat with that thing going ding, ding, ding,
from
ding,
our
ding.
perspective, think about that. You're 2.5, 3 hours in, and you don't have a bite, and that thing's gone ding 150 times.
Yeah.
You want to see meltdowns? You want to see TV-worthy stuff? Just have it just go every time someone logs one in. Ding.
I'm with you. All right, listen up, everybody. Normally, we don't take 2 breaks, but today we are taking 2 breaks because we have a special guest in studio. We're going to come back, close the show out with him. So everybody, hold tight. We'll be right back in a few. This is BTL. We'll be right back.
Sleek new design with easy control file. The clearest images underwater with uncompromising range. Live mapping from the touchscreen. View notifications, video, even Google Maps on screen. And for the first time ever, real-time view of fish movements with live sight sonar. HDS Live. New from Lowrance.
It's about the hours spent getting everything just right. It's the attention to detail. Good just isn't good enough. It's the years spent on the water day after day. When you tie on a bait by Strike King, you're standing on the shoulders of legends.
Pros depend on hydraulic jack plates to get the best out of their boats. Do what they do. Demand Atlas performance. Atlas gets you from the bottom to the top in less than 8 seconds, even with the big 4 strokes. And when you gotta turn right around and get that heavy load back up in rough water, Atlas's innovative design and American-made components will get you there with confidence.
I'm at Depot. Just look for yourself. There's an Atlas jack plate on just about every professional's boat.
The Atlas hydraulic jack plate. You can depend on it.
Hey guys, Aaron Martins here. I'm going to be telling you about a new product by Sunline. It's Siglon PE x8. I've been using it almost extensively all year for my frogging, flipping, drop shotting, shaky heading, worming, jerk baiting. It's by far my favorite Sunline braid. And I honestly, this is, I don't say this unless I think it's true, but honestly, it's the best braid in the market of any of the braids. Definitely check it out. It's a price point line, $14.95 for 165 yards, and that could last you a whole year, just one spool with using leader material. It's Siglon PE ×8. It's my favorite braid, and I think if you use it, it'll be your favorite braid too. AFCO has a new foul weather rain suit called the Hydronaut. A lot of the features that I really like about it first is the speed vent hood. If it's raining out, you know how a person gets wet is when you run down the lake and the hood comes down. With the speed vent hood, it's going to stay up. It has a camera mount in the pocket on the chest. The Hydronaut has a 2-layer, 100% waterproof nylon shell. If you're interested in a rain suit that has a lot of cool features that's going to keep you dry, you need to check out the Hydronaut from AFCO.
All right, we are back on a Monday. Yes, kicking off the week. We've got a special guest that is in studio, FLW touring professional, Mr. Brad Hallman. And Bradley.
How are you guys doing this morning?
Doing good, man. Appreciate you coming by. I had no idea that you were coming by. You're welcome anytime, man. You know where the door is.
That's what we took advantage of. You told me that last time.
I should give you a key, in fact.
Yeah, that's right. Key.
All right. History being made this week on the MLF side. You heard the interview that we just did with Mike. Different format. I mean, what are your thoughts in being an FLW guy on this whole deal?
I think the format is just so drastic for anything that I've ever competed in. I definitely like some of Mike's ideas about talking about he liked the score tracker, and that if there's a tool out there that an angler can use, and that's something that we're all going to use, I definitely understand him using that to his advantage. The practice part, as far as getting ready for an event like that, would be totally different. I think that you're really looking for groups of fish, large groups of fish.
Yeah.
Some things that I've noticed, I mean, obviously looking at it is the group A and the group B, and then you try to decide which group would you like to be in. You see the names and all the titles that group A had, and then you get to group B and you read that, and then you're like, well, wow, like B is...
Yeah, let me
hang on. Do you know this, Matt? So out of the 40 guys, what are they cutting to 20 from that group?
20 from each group.
Yeah. So you're not competing against somebody that may have different conditions.
That's correct.
On that day too. So you're competing against that 40 guys at first.
So my question though is, obviously you're going to have point standings all the way down. So the top 20 from each get it. They're going to finish in the top 40. Then they're fishing against each other. So you know exactly where they're going to finish. Yeah. But how do you determine who finishes in like 50th or 60th or 70th? Because you've got guys that are competing on different days, but their point totals are going to have to go somewhere for the end of the year for the Red Crest Cup.
I've asked that question. I don't know. I haven't got an answer yet. I know exactly what you're saying.
If you finish 33rd in your group, and then the guy the next day finishes 33rd after the 2 days, where do you finish then?
Maybe they take total weight.
Finishes higher? But that wouldn't be fair then, because what if you fish the day that's the day after the cold front, and the next day is the second day after the cold front?
That's exactly what we're looking at this first
100%.
event. The first day is going to be cold and wet, and the second day is going to be sunny and starting to warm. So conditions are going to be totally different.
And you might say, oh, well, Mike's going to have advantage because he's going to practice 2 days, and then he's going to get the first day. But then you also have to remember he's going to have a day off, and that he's going to fish again. So then he's going to also be fishing a day further away from the cold front. And then the guys who fish day 2 are going to have guys fishing in front of them. They're going to have to refine their fish, but they're going to be fishing 3 days after the cold front so their fish might bite better.
Guys in Group A are fishing the day after practice.
Yeah.
I mean, the very next day, and guys in Group B have got a day layoff.
I don't know. I've asked that question, though, Matthew, and have not received an answer.
Are we nitpicking on this stuff?
No,
it is what
that's
it is,
important to get.
I also wondered,
points,
are they opening up all of Toho? Is it Kissimmee? Is it everything? What are the boundaries?
Don't know.
The Group A stay in one part of the lake, and Group B are in another part?
No, they fish the same type of stuff.
Yeah.
So more likely.
I think both groups have the same limitations, whatever those are. In other words, they're not going to say, hey, you can go down to the third lake.
Right.
And Group B, you can only go to the main lake. Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that.
The things that I do know is I know that Kissimmee right now, the Kissimmee chain, Toho, Hatchinall, all the way down is from the word on the street is that is the lake in Florida right now. It's performing better than Harris. It's performing better than the St. Johns River, and definitely performing better than Okeechobee.
So obviously, with you having a win in Florida, what has been your experience with what they're dealing with right now, where they've had an enormous amount of rain? And then they had that cold front. You heard Mike say how much the water temp had dropped.
Right. The problem is that you can literally, like the guys, especially in Group B, okay, so they're going to fish 2 days from now, plus it's going to start warming. Mm-hmm. You can literally fish through an area that has the mother lode with the weather like what Mike's describing and never get a bite. You can spend 2 hours in there and not get a bite. And then 2 days from now, that's where it can go down. The fact that the lakes are so shallow and flat, they don't have a lot of water in the water column depth-wise, so they don't retain heat real well, which is why you hear Mike talking about the water temperatures when he got there were 60, and now he's looking in the 50s. It can also rebound that fast. Once the sun hits it, it doesn't take a week for it to warm back up. I mean, it gets there quick.
I mean, when you won, you had some crazy conditions.
Yeah, we started off really warm. Practice was warm, and it kind of declined throughout the week. And by the end of the event, it was just.
I mean, you were hanging on. I remember when you were up there, the video of you, those reeds with like gale force winds, and you were still like blown up against them.
Right. But with this deal, it's going to improve throughout the week for them. So they're starting practice with a pretty tough bite, and things will get better. But that's the thing that I would be most worried about, is missing a group of fish on a practice day like today, because it's so cold.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get your routine down for practicing for an Elite Series event or for a tour event? Do you kind of do the exact same thing? It's for the tour event, it's 3 days with an off day. For the Elite Series, 2.5 days, and then the tournament starts. Do you do the exact same thing every single time, and it just gets into, okay, this is my practice routine? Or do you switch it up every time? I'm just wondering how much these guys are going to be affected mentally by the fact that they just have 2 days and then either a day off, which some of them never had a day off, or an entire day shorter than what they're used to.
I think the style of the format of how they're fishing and with groups of fish being in mind are going to have a bit larger effect on how they practice, more so than the day off or not the day off. I think we're always looking at the weather forecast a week out, so you want to look at what's coming during the event, not what's actually happening right now. That always goes into practice. But with that being said, the fact that large groups of fish is what they're going to be looking for.
All right, Chris from Michigan made a statement. He's talking about the question that we had, and I think he's addressing something different. What we're talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, Matthew, is let's say you finish in 39th in your 40 group.
Right.
Then where do you finish overall?
Because someone else is going to finish 49th in the B group.
39th.
Or 39th in the B group.
Yeah, so where do you finish overall? Is it
Let's just make it
weight
easy.
Versus weight?
You finish 40th in the A group. Someone finishes 40th in the B group. Who finishes 79th and who finishes 80th?
Good point.
That's our
question.
That's the easy way to understand it.
Why don't you just give them the same amount of points? That's probably what they'll do. So you each get the same amount of points. So they're, a 40th and a 40th.
Both get the
same amount of points.
You are just brilliant, Brad.
Well,
but you could. But then it's 40 versus.
But then you have you have two people getting the same amount of points below 40th place.
That's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's to make the same amount of points for both sides. So then you come out and you're tied in the event as points.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Yep.
By the way, I am leaving Monday open next week for next week's shows, just in case we're able to get whoever wins on this show on Monday. That's what we're going to try and do. The likelihood of that happening, I would say, is about 50-50. If we get them, great. If we don't, we're going to make every effort to try and get the winner on the show on Monday. Obviously, maybe live via Skype, maybe hopefully keep your fingers crossed just via phone, to where we could get their take on what happened during their victory week at the very first BPT event.
Here's one of the things that I'm most interested in seeing. You watch the MLF Cups, and you see who starts catching them, and then you see everybody adopt what they think that guy's style is. We saw this happen on Murray.
Okay.
are we going to end up watching all 10 guys doing the same thing based on the guys who are catching them because they know who does what, and if so-and-so's catching them, so-and-so's catching them. So in an elite series, you might have the top 10 doing 8 different things because they don't know what the other guys are doing. They're not allowed to look at it. They don't know during the day who's catching them or not. You could have a guy up power fishing, a guy drop shot, and a guy flipping, and a guy Carolina rigging.
Yeah.
We saw that on Hawaii. In this deal, you do the score tracker update, you know who's catching them. Are you going to see a lot more guys doing the exact same thing because now they have a lot more information to go off of? I mean, the odds are if you're on score tracker, Brad, and you're catching them, people are going to go, I need to be flipping.
And those guys miss on that every time. Have you noticed that through the years?
Some of them, yeah. It can definitely bite you.
Yeah. I think the guesses a lot of times is a bad deal because I see guys miss that judgment call. The big difference between Murray and seeing guys and what you're talking about that's not going to happen at Toho is just because of size alone.
Okay.
You know, I mean, you don't know if they're on Toho or Kissimmee. If you haven't seen them, you don't know where they are. Just the size alone. Murray, you're going to see them because it's such a small place.
Is the difference there assuming rather than producing? In other words, you're taking what you're assuming somebody else is doing rather than what you yourself are producing on the water.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What I have witnessed and watched with some of the stuff in years past is that the assumption of what other anglers are doing is sometimes to the detriment of your own performance.
You change what you're doing based on what you think someone else is doing, and in actuality, they're doing something else, and you're on a wild goose chase.
I've seen guys literally doing what the leader is doing, and they assume that because the leader's Jason Christie that he's flipping, and he's not.
So would you put yourself in a silo and just totally tone out everything else that's going on and focus on what you have to do?
No, I agree with Mike's assumption. I mean, you have to use all of the information to your advantage, but that's the one thing that I think that you've really got to be careful of is the assumption of what other guys are doing just because of their style.
I think based on the lakes that you go to in the certain times of the year, too, it's going to get real interesting to be able to watch these guys live make those assumptions. I mean, you're making those assumptions on the FLW Tour just like everyone else is.
That's right.
At the end of the day, though, after
right.
the day's over, it's not the leader is not affecting what you're doing that day. But the next day, you can look at that leaderboard and go, there's 8 guys up here who, whatever, love throwing a giant swim bait. There might be a big swim bait bite.
But you generally speaking, you see guys when it's all said and done, you know, out of the 10 guys, there's guys doing some different stuff all within that top 10.
Yeah, and I'm just curious to see how much that affects it during the day.
All right, we're gonna find out, and we're gonna find out tomorrow. All right, Bradley, what do you have going on next?
We're going to the same place that they are, so I do believe that the FLW Tour anglers will be definitely dialed into MLF tomorrow.
Are you gonna watch? Will you be totally tuned in to what's going on this week?
Yeah, same thing with us. The weather, when we get there, just like what Mike's talking about, they're on the front side of it, and so they're going to fight through this cold front. We're showing up on Monday. I believe it's 80 degrees for 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a really drastic change and some push, you know, with the time of year, February, and the moon's not right, but we're definitely going to see more of a spawning type tournament, more so than they're going to see a pre-spawn bite.
91 pounds to win the first tour event. Over or under for you guys at Toho?
Say that again?
91 won the first one on Sam Rayburn. Will we see another? Will you guys start out with 90? I mean, will it be another slugfest, another 90 pounds to win?
It sounds like Kissimmee chain is really healthy right now and really putting out some good bags, so I'm going to say over.
I agree with him, especially with the way that the weather's setting up.
Yep.
I really hope they hit the lower weight ones like dead nuts on. I would love to see. I would love to see a tour year where it took a 20-pound bag every single day to win every single tournament for the entire season. We had never seen anything like that in our lives.
All right, you guys would make picks, and y'all are going to wait till tomorrow, but I'm going to throw mine out there. I'm going Roane County, Tennessee. Wesley Strader wins the first MLF.
All right, there you have it. Now, I want to let everybody know we are planning on getting you back in studio after every single FLW event that you participate in. The show that we did with you from Sam Rayburn, even though you didn't have a whole lot of success, it was one of the most widely viewed and listened to shows that we had because of the way that you broke down and the insight that you gave everybody on what went down at Sam Rayburn. We're going to do the same thing when you get back from Toho. So fans, look forward to that breakdown by Bradley on what goes down. Hopefully he will have an enormous amount of success and he will pass on those success stories to all the fans and listeners and viewers. So appreciate that, Bradley.
Yep, looking forward to it.
When are you leaving?
I am leaving on Friday of this week. So Friday I'm driving to Florida.
All right, man. Sounds good. We will get you back in the studio after that. Matthew, anything else?
No, I think we got it all covered.
Starts tomorrow, man. We're going to have Dave Rush live via Skype tomorrow. Maybe you can get some more shots of all the WWE trucks. That was amazing.
There's a bunch of stuff that goes into watching fishing now.
Unbelievable, man.
Well, it's just like the fishermen. When you look at everything you got to power up and log into and hook up and connect and just to get to go fishing for a day, it's the same way for covering it now. It used to just be unhook it, back it in, and crank it. It used to just be hit the record button and then edit it later. It's an evolution of everything.
Pretty crazy. All right, Bradley, looking forward to you back in studio breaking down what went down at Toho. So everybody, tomorrow, live, 8:30 a.m. Central Time. As this thing progresses, we will see what happens this week. Can't wait. Bradley, thank you. I want to thank Mike McClelland for taking time out from his practice today down at Toho. So everybody be safe. We will see you tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. right here on BTL. We're out of here.